To there you go. I've just been told it is definitely being recorded. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to this SC Talks session on volunteering and the impact that volunteers have in cycling and in sport. It's Volunteers Week. It's also Bike Week, by the way, I noticed. How appropriate that those two come together this evening. It's the 37th Volunteers Week, I'm told. So this is not a new phenomenon, but it's a nice opportunity for us to recognise volunteers in cycling, in Scottish cycling. And we've got three guests with us this evening, a chance to listen to them, be inspired by them, realise what great volunteering might go on around you, make you reflect on some of the volunteering that perhaps you do and you benefit from others, and we can talk about how cycling in Scotland in particular probably couldn't function without the dedication of volunteers. So I hope that's why. Congratulations on leaving the barbecue and coming inside, unless you are sitting outside in the sun for this session, because it is a lovely evening. My name's Nigel Hall. I'm going to chair this evening. I guess I'm volunteering in doing that as well. I am lucky. I work full-time in sport most of the time. I work for and manage and lead British curling, so most of my time is spent worrying about ice and cold conditions. But I volunteer my time as a board director of Scottish Cycling, a board member of the Scottish Commonwealth Games Council, and as a club volunteer, member of Stirling Bike Club. So there's two Stirling Bike Club members on this call tonight. A bit of a bias in the Stirling direction, but you'll get to hear about some of that later. And coaching and involvement in various other sports and clubs over the years. But my job is to talk a little tonight and get our three key volunteers and guests to actually talk quite a lot this evening and have a proper conversation. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves, because they'll do it better than I will. So I'm going to go to Lizzie first. Lizzie, can you just give us a quick introduction to yourself, who you are, what you do for a living, and briefly where you volunteer in cycling? Lizzie Miller.
My name is Lizzie Miller. I'm a police officer in the Scottish Borders, and I'm a volunteer with British Cycling. I'm a breeze champion, and I've done so for about 3 years. And I'm a founding member of the Hoik Bells that takes women out cycling from newbies to seasoned cyclists.
Superb. Well, we'll hear more about that in a minute or two, Lizzie. Colin Chisholm, could I ask you to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, can do. I'm Colin. I'm one of the older ones in this team. I retired last year, so I suppose you would class me now as a full-time hobby cyclist, doing a bit of coaching and volunteering. Mainly volunteer with Scottish Cycling as an off-road commission member, road and cyclocross commissaire, and I do a little bit of help with the Scottish Cyclocross Association, promoting cyclocross within primarily Scotland, but also across the rest of the UK. And within the coaching team at Stirling Bike Club, kind of coaching the cyclists of the future and the ones that are here and now, as well as organising clean cyclocross.
Thanks, Colin. Going to hear some more about quite a lot of that in a minute or two, I know. And delighted to introduce our third member of the panel, Lucia Steele. So you'll be a familiar name to quite a few people on this call already, I reckon, but just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Lucia. I'm a sprinter on the Great Britain cycling team, under 23 academy, and ex-member of Johnson Jett Cycling Club, and now volunteer with them, got my level 1, and also current member, and I guess do a bit of coaching as well with Glasgow Track Racing Club too. Good,
thank you, Lucia. Well, so three committed volunteers heavily involved in different aspects of cycling in Scotland, which gives us a rich tapestry for this evening, I think. So I'm looking forward to listening an awful lot, and in doing so try and bring out a few more of the details around those stories, and probably what makes our panel tick as volunteers, what they get out of it, the impact that what they do, the impact that has on cycling and on other people, in helping other people develop and grow through cycling. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot in the next hour, and we can use that experience, I hope, to impact on other people in our cycling family here in Scotland. But I don't want to be the only person asking the questions, okay? So you've got the ability joining this webinar to ask questions of me or of the panel, or through me to the panel. So if you'd like to fire in any questions. We'd really welcome that. Put us on the spot with a killer question or two. Come on, make them hard, make them brutal. We'll deal with them. So any questions, please put them in the chat, in the Q&A bit, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go on. So I'm going to start with Lizzie. Lizzie, we know you're a police officer, and we know that you're heavily involved with Breeze and with setting up groups in the borders. Do you want to take us through a little bit more of your journey into volunteering and what you actually do, the real impact that you actually have? Because I know you're doing some fantastic work.
Thank you. So it was myself and two of my friends back in 2017. We saw that the Breeze programme was out. Lindsay saw it and asked if we would help her, Tracy and I. So we went along and did our training because we are members of the Hoyk Cycling Club, but we identified that there wasn't very many women in Hoyk on their bike, because it was mainly men that were on the club, and I think fast riding, they were just looking to start and see how they got on. So we went and did our training. We took our first Breeze ride out in May 2018. We did 3 miles with one of my friends, and it just grew. You know, we advertised on Facebook and the local paper, and we had about 20-30 regulars that would come along that had gone from never riding a bike for about 20 years to then going on to do 40-50 miles sportifs. So we recognised that there wasn't really any women's only sportifs in the borders, and it's quite daunting for them to go with men. So we arranged to have the Midsummer Breeze Sportive in June 2019, and we advertised it, and we got over 100 women came from all over. We had Cooper, Dumfries, Lancashire, and we made it such a welcoming day. There was a 25 and a 40 mile route. We had spot prizes that were donated from local charities, local businesses, and the money that we raised went to the Hoyt Community Pump Track as well. So it was just a really fantastic day. Everybody fair enjoyed themselves, and just cycling with like-minded women. And there's been so many new friendships that have been made, you know, that they would never have crossed paths if it wasn't for the cycling. So it's very rewarding to see that happening.
Really impressive, and I know you've managed to keep things going through COVID as well, Lizzie. That, you know, it's obviously presented a challenge. I think you had to postpone the Sportive last year. I know. Are you hoping to put it on again this year, this summer?
Yes, we are. We were hoping to do it this summer, but then we were unsure about the restrictions, so we've cancelled that till next year. So, but throughout the restrictions with COVID, we were keeping people going on the Facebook page, putting out little challenges, little hill challenges. Just when lockdown started, that was keeping them local. Just 5 miles out of Hoyk, a little here, hill there, and they were sharing their rides and photos, passing each other, and it kind of gave them a sense of well-being and for their mental health, because a lot of the people were furloughed and weren't getting out. So we kept it going with challenges throughout the year. So it was really good.
I can see Lucia, being really kind of keen at the thought of lots of hill reps and hill challenges actually as a sprinter, right, Lucia? You'd be loving that. Lizzie, it's some cracking examples which I think we'll probably come back to. But I'm really interested in you've almost what are the links with the club? You mentioned that you were a member of Hoyk Cycling Club originally, but there weren't that many opportunities that were appropriate, and hence you've driven all the work that you've done, which is really good. What are the links with the club like now? How does that work?
They're better. We have got more women that have joined the Hoyk Cycling Club, so we still keep Breeze a separate, so we'll have Breeze led rides on a Wednesday night, that's our night, and we'll maybe have one Breeze led ride one every weekend, but we'll also put on social rides for them so that they've got routes to do. But for the women that have progressed, you know, faster, that want to go on a faster ride, they can come to the Hoyk Cycling Club, and we have had a few new members, so it's still a separate entity as such, but you know, the 3 of us are members of Hoyk as well as the Breeze, and I have to say as well that over the 3 years, you know, some of the women that have come out that haven't cycled before, they've come on to be Breeze champions, so it's come from 3 to 7. So we've got 7 Breeze champions, so we have rides just about every day of the week, bar a couple. So it's been really popular, really good. We have at least 50 regulars now that are out on their bikes most weeks, so It's great.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie, thank you. Don't worry, we're coming back to you later, but I'm going to, having listened to all that activity that you've generated, Colin, you're involved heavily as a commissaire, mainly off-road events, I think. So potentially in the future, Lizzie, some of Lizzie's participants might come through to events. Who knows? Can you give us an idea about sort of how much time you put into volunteering and the main focus of your work as perhaps a commissaire on that side, Colin?
Can do. Commissaire. I got into commissaire because I first went and watched a bike race in Bo'ness called Digging at the Dock. It had to be the most bonkers bike race ever. You know, middle of winter, freezing cold, pouring with rain, the occasional bit of sleet, and there was, you know, hundreds of people, you know, dressed in lycra. It was freezing, covered in mud, and enjoying every minute of it. So that kind of got me started, and I got involved in commissaire because I wanted to try and understand a bit more about what happens at a bike race. Naively, I used to think that everybody that was there got paid. Yeah, that came as a pleasant surprise when I realised it was people like me that volunteered. So yeah, been involved in commissaire for just over 5 years. You know, for anyone that's thinking about it, what's it not to like? You know, fresh air, traveling the country, meeting interesting people, and spending a huge amount of time talking bikes, events, mud, tyres, tyre pressure, and actually how long it's going to take for the rain to penetrate 4 layers of clothing before you get absolutely soaking. That kind of led me then into thinking, you know, as part of Stirling Bike Club, why don't we restart clean cyclocross? Quite an old-fashioned, basic type race. You come along, you take part, and you have a bit of fun. You meet lifelong friends. You know, the type of racing it is, you're only racing against the person in front and the person behind. You're not racing, you know, against the 15th person in front of you or anything like that. But yeah, that was kind of how I got involved in commissaire, and then from there it developed into road. That's what am I going to do in the summertime when the sun's shining? But sit in a car and watch bike races. It's absolutely fantastic. So, kind of how I got
Colin, it's a question I'm going to ask everybody, but it's your sort of motivation for that. You know, you went along to Dig in the Dock, you saw it, and that kind of. But what's your motivation for putting in the amount of time that you do that now? What do you get out of it? I suppose.
I just enjoy it. It's a really nice feeling when you've put a race on, people turn up and they go away happy. Might go away covered in mud, but they go away happy. And on the coaching side of it, you know, if I can get one person that can do something that they couldn't do when they first came along, that feeling's fantastic. You know, when somebody just says, "Oh, I get that, I can do that," or when it's a volunteer and somebody says, "Yeah, I appreciate that," yeah, just good.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to revisit that same motivation with everybody. But Lucia, you touched a little bit in when you're introducing yourself in terms of some of the volunteering you've done with Johnston Jets, and we're all used to seeing at events the blue and yellow of Johnston Jets all over the place. A great club doing some tremendous work. Do you just want to give us a quick insight into that work that you've done? Because as an elite athlete, you'll not have much time on your hands to be coaching other people. So I'd love to hear the story of how you make that work, or how you've made that work in the past.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like for the last 2 and a bit years, I've been based down in Manchester with British Cycling, so not done as much. Haven't made the trip, unfortunately, every Saturday. But yeah, I guess I got my level 1, I think, in 2016, and just coached every Saturdays from there. And then, yeah, when I have been back every time from Manchester, when I've been home and that, it's been going to the roller sessions or their Saturday morning sessions as well with the Jets, and even just some of their events as well, and just helping whatever needs help to help, or just whatever needs done, whether that be at the actual event itself or as part of Johnston Jets. So yeah.
And it's really good, and it is impressive, because you know, a young coach is really good actually in terms of working with younger athletes as well. You know, that's not to be rude to any older coaches that might be involved and listening, absolutely, but it's really good to have younger role models working in coaching. So I think it's fantastic, Lucia. How did you first get into it? Was it family pressure? Were you because there's family connections in Jets, of course, or
yeah.
what made you want to do it?
I feel like it was always probably something that I was going to do. I think for me, a lot of the time I saw the Mulhollands come along and do it as well. So it was kind of natural step, I guess, into coaching when I got old enough, was to get my level 1. And I've always done sports coaching external to cycling anyway. I used to work with Renfrewshire Active Schools, so I just enjoyed coaching anyway. But for the Jets, it seems to be quite a common thing. I know that they've got a few of their first year junior riders now, I think, helping as well and going through hopefully to get their level 1 qualification. And as you said, like, I think for the younger riders, they appreciate it so much more. And I've had Jets parents say that to me as well, that they listen to you or whatever it is. And that's a nice part of it.
Love it. Very good. Lizzie, you've talked about the fact that you've got more Breeze champions now working with you. I think you set up to 7 or 8, which is really good. How have you gone about? How's that happened? How's that growth from the original group of 3 that started things out? How have you grown the numbers? Because you can hear Johnson Jets bringing young coaches in, which is excellent, and Lucia's experience there. How are you getting other people involved to work with you?
Well, our 2 earlier ones, Jill and Susan, they came along on our bicycle rides. Jill was a friend of Lindsay's, had never been out on her bike either, and she just enjoyed it. And she's so vibrant and full of fun, and she was great with the women and just encouraging them all the time. And they just recognised that we needed more volunteers because we all had full-time jobs, and it was a lot for us to take on every week. So Jill and Susan decided that they wanted to do it as well, and then they could run rides from Denham, and on the back of that, Nadia and Wendy, they were also ladies that came along right at the start. Again, I'd never cycled before. Nadia's a hairdresser and she's been great at recruiting a lot of women. So there'd been
I can see it. I can picture it now. So she's got the clippers out or the scissors out, and it's you're coming cycling or you're getting a shortcut, right? I love it.
Yeah, that's what she says. But no, bless her. But she's had a lot of women that have come again. A lot of them have started in their 50s that have never ridden a bike, and they just love it, and they keep saying, "I wished we'd done it earlier." So Nadia and Wendy have been great as well to start. They were late with the COVID. They couldn't do their Breeze courses, but of course they're fine now. So they've been coming out with us. And it helps as well for when we used to have events for mechanical workshops to show the women how to keep their maintenance nights. So again, Jill was our kind of social convener, was the entertainment, and we had a bicycle drive instead of a beetle drive, and just makes it fun, and it's like a social aspect as well. So it just was natural for them to become Breeze champions. They're great for the team. So.
Very good. That's interesting. Colin, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you're heavily involved in coaching at Stirling Bike Club as well, and coaching some individuals. I'm interested, you heard Lucia talk about the way Johnson Jets got her into coaching maybe. Do you see that going on elsewhere? An encouragement to get other people involved in coaching? Is that something that as a volunteer you're involved in, developing other people? It may not be in coaching, it may be in commissaring where you might be developing other people.
A bit of both, I think. We're always looking for more coaches within the club. We've got a couple that are interested. One of them is a young guy. He's just turned 17. He's doing his level 1 at the moment. Fingers crossed he'll pass his level 1 next weekend. So that's pretty good. He actually helps with us, and he helps with Falkirk Juniors as well. So he's actually
very good
at 2 clubs. He's really pretty good. But yeah, unfortunately, we seem to have an awful lot of older people still involved in coaching, which is okay. But you want young people coming through because they've got different experiences, and they can share things differently. Commissaire-wise, we were quite a strange bunch to start with. Well, we still are a strange bunch, but we've done quite a fair bit of work in bringing standards up, getting consistency. sharing knowledge. I find that, well, a lot of volunteer work, it's not what you know and who you know, but it's how you find it out. It can be quite tricky.
Yeah,
we've taken to being a bit more organised approach to commissaire, so we get people from the north of the country and the south of the country, and we mix them up a bit, put them where we think they might gain the most experience. When we're bringing on the assistant coaches, the trainees, it's always good for consistency. One of the problems with volunteering is, especially commissaire, it can take quite a while to get all the boxes ticked and get all the experience. And it involves a huge amount of time. A typical event might take 20-ish hours up front, and then you've got a full day or 2 days, depending on whether it's a national or a regional, and then a little bit of work after. A lot of people don't have that amount of time to spare, and that was putting a lot of people off commissaire. So working with Scottish Cycling and British Cycling, we've introduced Regional B, so it's the next level down. It's a commissaire that doesn't want to be a chief com, or they're not ready for it. And we've had 2 people through that system. So that's 2 volunteers that we would have lost if we didn't adapt and change things a little bit. And it's 2 pretty young commissaires that have got loads of life experience and commissaire experience that we've now gained back again. So that was good.
Very good. All right, and this is a question I'm going to throw out to all 3 of you, okay? It's a question that's come in through the system. So from an anonymous attendee, somebody who's keeping their name well hidden, but it's a really good question. So question for you all, right? What advice or tips would you give to clubs or event organisers looking to recruit more volunteers? Because everybody cries out probably for more volunteers. I heard you say that, Colin. There's always a shortage of coaches. Lizzie, I'm sure you could do with more breeze leaders, because you're saying there's people out every week. Lucia, probably at Johnson Jets, there's probably always a demand for more people to help out. What are the tips? How can we go about it? Anyone want to chuck in any ideas there? Silence is golden, of course.
Oh, no.
Just make it fun. Oh, sorry, Lizzie. Just make it fun to volunteer.
Thank you, Colin. Yeah.
But volunteering in the middle of winter is no great. But a simple thing like, come along, we'll give you a cup of coffee and a cup of soup. It makes a difference. And actually recognise that volunteers are just that. They've volunteered to come along. They're not getting paid. They want to be there. So yeah, make it fun for them, I think.
Fun first. Good one. Lizzie?
Maybe just chum them with somebody else who's done it for a wee bit, just so that they're getting a wee bit of experience, because it's quite daunting, if you've never done it before, and you can bounce ideas off each other. So yeah, a wee mentor is also a good idea. That's good.
Any thoughts, Lucia?
Not necessarily. Well, I guess one thing I know that they do in Johnson Jets is parent helpers, just getting them along who are going to be at the session anyway. And then, yeah, just, as I said, just, partnering them up with some of the coaches. And then I guess if they enjoy cycling as well, they maybe know bits and bobs about it. So, yeah, I guess that's helpful as well.
That's good. I think that the other point for me is it's really simple, but you just have to say thank you to people. And that's all of us. So that's cyclists, maybe. Colin, I hope, when you've commissaired me racing, well, participating, let's say, at the back of the field, I hope I've remembered to say thank you at the end of the day for the fact that you're out in the mud and the wet and getting cold, and Lizzie, I'm sure your breeze rides, I'm sure the people that come on those breeze rides all say thank you to the breeze leader, breeze champion for taking it out. It's really actually quite simple things like that, a simple thank you can go an awful long way. And most people do that, but we just sometimes have to remember to thank people for volunteering their time, really.
We had a few marshals that came out to help for the sportive, because it's widespread over the borders, and it was so kind to them all to help. It was all from different cycling backgrounds in Hoyk, and they got beer and sandwiches and cake at the end, so they were happy.
There you go.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a bottle of beer or two.
No, and that's really that is how you say thank you in different ways, isn't it? A bottle of beer, a piece of cake, a a cup of coffee, a mug of soup, whatever it might be. It's just that recognition that they're putting something in, and therefore they get something back. Anna Lynn's asked us a question here, which I'm just going to pick up on because it's quite an interesting one. Anna's saying, cycling seems like quite a male-dominated sport, but it's nice to hear Lizzie and Lucia's perspectives. Is cycling, I think this is your question, Anna, is cycling quite welcoming to female volunteers?
Yeah.
Lizzie, Lucia?
Yeah,
I hope the answer is yes.
100%. Yeah, I think it's definitely very open to it. Maybe there are less women than there are male. But I think, yeah, as I said, it's maybe just the domination. However, I don't know, I think now in the Jets especially, I mean, that's obviously very biased, but that's where I've worked closest, is that you've seen a lot more. I think maybe I might get this wrong, but after Katrina Hamilton, I was the only other female coach. So then it was, but now I think they've got so many more that again have come through from parent helpers and now got their level 1, and there is so many more women in there, which I think can be really helpful to. I like to hope that hopefully me volunteering and me coaching as a female is allowing other kids or other girls in the Jets to want to continue riding, because they know that there's someone there that maybe understands what they're going through at different ages as well. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely open. It just needs maybe more roles filled.
Okay, Lizzie, any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, we identified that there was a gap in Hoyk, that there wasn't very many women getting out on their bikes. So it's been very welcomed and recognised. We're in the Hoyk news a lot. People see us going out, and quite regularly people will, speak to us and just say how amazing it is to see such a big group of women. So yeah, it's very welcome.
Good. And of course, the Breeze programme has been very much focused on women in cycling and done a really, really good job, and brought an awful lot of female cyclists into cycling. I was going to say into the sport, not necessarily into the sport side, but very much into cycling, which is excellent. And Lucia, you don't underplay. I absolutely agree with you. The kind of role model that you're playing there as a young female coach and somebody who's an elite cyclist as well, really, really important for other people to see that and see that you're able to do a really good job, and to follow you into the sport, but follow you in as a coach as well. That's really good. I'm going to ask another question of all three of you, to be honest, because it's an interesting one, this one. I'm getting a question about the dedication required to be a volunteer, that it comes across as quite a lot of a hefty time commitment that you're making, and I think you are, and I've got huge respect for that, and I'll come on to the question bit in a minute. But what I'm interested in is, as you've gone through your volunteering journey, Lizzie, as you've started things off as a Breeze champion, Colin, as you've moved through as a commissaire and as a coach, and Lucia as a coach in particular, or maybe at some of the events you've been involved in helping out at, what kind of support have you had as a volunteer? We've heard about potentially pairing people up, mentoring people, but what sort of support have you benefited from on your journey? Who's helped you, and how effective has that been? Anyone want to jump in? Lizzie?
Well, I think to start with, it was something we'd never done before. We had Diana Farrell, who was our coordinator for the East. She was on the end of the phone if we needed, or WhatsApp or messages if we were needing any support, if we were unsure. But I think it really helped because the three of us started together, so we could bounce ideas off each other, and if we were having a bad day with the Let's Ride website, we could ask for help from each other. Again, with the new ones, we've shown them how to do the rides. Yes, we had training, but it doesn't help when you're going out and actually doing it in the field.
Yep.
But support-wise, I think we've just supported each other because we've just had to get on with it, and it's it does take up a lot of our time, and the thanks, as you say, that you get from the women, that's enough to keep us going, and we're motivated to do it. So
very good. Colin, what about support you might have had on your journey as stepping into commissairing in the early days and then progressing up as you have?
Family, first and foremost, I think. I come from a non-cycling family. I think my family, there's nothing worse than standing at the side of a field watching people go around in circles. But I've had that full support, whether it's been for weekends away to events or whether it's been away for coaching. So yeah, I think family and friends first and foremost, because when you first start off, you volunteer for half an hour here or there at a club event, and then you get a little bit more hooked on it, and then before you know where you are, you've said, yeah, I'll do that. And it becomes quite time consuming over time. Some say that's one of the reasons why I retired, so I could spend more time cycling.
Stirling Bike Club's very, very delighted, Colin, by that decision. Okay.
Yeah, I would think so. So yeah, for me, I think family first and foremost. It depending on what you do and how you do it, there's a bit of a financial commitment as well. There are grants, there's bursaries. If you're a member of a club, they'll help pay for stuff. So it kind of lessens the blow a little bit. I could talk forever, so I'll kind of stop.
That's okay. No, it's good. And I think that the family support's really significant. I think it is important to say that if you're going on training courses, there are ways you can get financial support for that. You know, you might, as you say, the club might help. There might be some other grants available locally. Lucia, how did the Jets help you with your level one? I bet they were able to support you in some way, being the kind of strong club that they are.
Yeah, so the Jets, I got put through my level one through Johnson Jets, and yeah, I guess in terms of support is obviously that financial support, but then just I guess you could call it emotional support as well, and understanding that you're transitioning maybe from a rider into a coach, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're maybe not going to do it the way they would do it, but them having that understanding and allowing you to go and maybe make those mistakes and mess up, but obviously also giving you that feedback as well, really, I guess, shapes the kind of coach that you are as well, you know. So yeah, definitely the support from just someone else having your back and knowing that there's someone there to fall back on if you do make a mistake as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really important, and I kind of knew that would be there at the Jets, but it's great to hear, and you've got some great coaches there in the club who are able to provide you with that kind of support and leadership, and that's the way we all learn. That's really good. Colin, you mentioned that you sort of might have dipped your toe in initially, and then you slowly got dragged in further and further. The question I was referring to is somebody said a lot of the roles seem to involve a lot of time commitment. Are there roles that you can dip in and out of? Now, I think the three of you here this evening are pretty committed, you know, around other commitments that you've got on in your life. But from your knowledge of cycling, are there roles perhaps if people are less committed right now, but want to provide some help, where they can provide some input without it being all consuming, perhaps? Any ideas?
Locally for us, as I say, with the Hoyk Cycling Club, not on Breeze, they obviously have their time trials. It's starting to be the time trial season again, and it's just things like saying that you'll volunteer to go to the Tarn or to marshal there. You know, you don't have to be involved in organising. You just need to be at the Tarn, and that's a big help, because it kind of falls a lot of the time on the club members to do it as well, and sometimes they want to race and they can't because, you know, there's not the numbers to do the marshalling. So just something like that, just get in touch with your local cycling club and see if there's anything that, you know, you can do to help.
That's a great one. I was marshalling at our first club confined time trial last week, doing exactly that, and it's, you know, you don't need any great skills or experience, but you're making a difference, aren't you? No, it's a good one. Colin, any thoughts that you were nodding about? I think when Lizzie was talking there, does that mean you got some ideas?
Same as Lizzie, it's just come along, whether it's a half an hour to stand and marshal something, or whether it's for an hour and a quarter once a week as a parent helper. You know, all support is welcome, even if it's just something simple like I can come along at the end of the event and help you take the signs down. It all helps to just make the things a little bit easier. And don't be afraid, you'll get shown what to do. You know, and if you're stuck, somebody will always help, you know, whether it's partnering up with somebody to go and do something or whatever. So yeah, but it should still be kept as fun, you know, shout encouragement as the riders go past, that type of thing.
I tried to.
We have to.
Lucia, any idea, any thoughts from you to sort of dip in and out of roles? You'll see stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's just similar. I guess with races and everything, you've seen different events, and I know that when my dad's hosted some, he's had us all there at some point doing something, and maybe my brother's been, I mean, he's probably been the rider whip since he was about 8 years old, and there's always some little 5-year-old kid running up and down with sheets of paper doing something. So I think, yeah, there's definitely a role for everyone, and they'll find something to do with it. And yeah, different level of, sorry, that's the stairs creaking, but different level of expertise as well. So I think, yeah, there's something to do, and yeah, it can be 5 minutes or it can be 5 hours. It's just, yeah, depending on what time you've got and want to give for it. Yeah.
And hopefully, as we come out of COVID, as you know, we're now starting to see events happening and time trials are happening, you know, and hopefully we're able to build more and more over the course of the next few months. There will be some of those opportunities as more and more events come back onto our calendar for people to get involved. So it is something to absolutely look out for. You're absolutely right. One of the things that's coming up, and this is a question that came in before tonight's meeting, so I'm going to make sure I cover it now before I forget, is that there's a big event coming to Scotland in 2023, which is the World Cycling Championships, plural, and going to be quite a stunning event. The first time that all the World Championships have been held in one venue, one country, at essentially the same time. So Scotland leading the way, which is fantastic, and there's a great team of people driving that. But the key question was, which came in beforehand, how can I volunteer for 2023, the World Championships? Because there will be many roles. We may have people listening today who might have been involved in the Glasgow Commonwealth Games as a Clydesider volunteer. We might have had people helping at the European Championships in 2018 that took place, again with lots of volunteers. The cycling in 2023 will need volunteers. Now, I've done my best today to get a definitive answer on that question. I can't give it to you, I'm afraid, but there will be lots of volunteer roles, and there will be a recruitment campaign. So if that's the kind of thing that, you know, getting involved in a major event, and it will be a major event with lots of broadcast and media and top international cyclists across all the various disciplines heavily involved, if that's something that motivates you in a short period of time in 2023, then keep a lookout for that. And I have been told today that people that are actively involved in cycling in Scotland, in volunteering in Scotland, that's going to push them up the queue and up the pecking order in terms of then getting some of those volunteering opportunities. So real nice chance for people actually to look ahead to something in 2023. And if that's the kind of thing that motivates you, keep a lookout for it. I'm sure through Scottish Cycling, there'll be lots of communication, lots of information shared on social media and the website. We'll make sure we do that, but also just keep your own eyes open on it, which is important. Now, Lucia, I'm going to put you on the spot now, because you've also can come at this from a slightly different perspective. You're an athlete, so I'm putting your athlete cap back on now, or your cycling helmet back on, as opposed to your volunteering hat. What's your perspective as you're an elite athlete, you're down in Manchester, you're living the dream, okay, of being an elite cyclist. How do you appreciate from that side the impact that volunteers have had on you and your career?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who I'm very thankful for, like, and within cycling. And I think as well, from my point of view, is I've got my dad who is a volunteer and who's done it, and I see how much he has to put into every single thing, whether that just be a Saturday morning Johnson Jet session or whatever that is. And you know, you're seeing, like, I see that firsthand, how much he puts into it and how much obviously all the commissaires and everyone else, and just what actually goes into hosting an event. And you know, then I could turn up at that event and it's flawless. You know, there's just, you run through it, it's easy. You don't, and I think if I didn't ever see what's gone into it, you wouldn't maybe realise how much they actually have to put into, how much organisation and planning goes into it. I guess from an event point of view, but then also just from an individual point of view. I think I said this before, like, I've had interviews where people ask me who's one of the most influential people with my cycling. Is definitely Martin Mulholland, because I've known him since I was 8, and I've been riding my bike since I was 8 years old. And the things that he's taught me and the things that the Jets have taught me aren't just things about riding a bike. It's not just how to stay safe on a road, but it's also how to behave in life, how to appreciate the people who are organising these events and everything else, so that in actual fact I can turn up at a race and not have to worry about anything else but signing my name on a piece of paper and racing, and that's it. But actually that's all we have to do. But without all that volunteering and all the help behind that, I wouldn't have got half the opportunities I did to now ride my bike at that highest level. So yeah.
I think that's really good, and it's really good recognition, actually, Lucia. But I also think it's lovely to hear the fact that you recognise that coaches and people like that impact not just around about the technical and the kind of riding the bike stuff, but the impact on you as people as well. And you know, I think that's excellent recognition from your point of view. So good one. Thank you for that. Enjoyed listening to that. That was good. That was good. And Martin Mulholland, I coach of the year last year, I think. Martin, you know, take a bow. I'm not sure whether he's on the call. If he isn't, why on earth not? But I hope you heard that, Lucia, because he deserves to. It's great feedback. Another question that's come in, which is a good one. I'm going to put you all three on the spot again because I'm enjoying doing that. And Colin, you're going first this time. So there's the warning shot, okay, across the bow. It's a good question that's come in from somebody anonymous on the call, but what has been your standout moment or memory as a volunteer? Do you have one moment that stands out that you look back on and you go, yep, when I write my memoirs in a few years' time, I'm going to make sure that's got a chapter all to itself? Go on, Colin.
Suppose I have. I'm going to avoid mentioning any names. I'm just checking who's on the call list. So way back, first ever clean cyclocross I put on.
Yep.
It's going quite well. Friend of mine for the club took part in it. Yeah, halfway around the second lap, went, no, had enough of this. Don't like this. Hate it. I think was the words that were used. Roll on the next event, completed the event. Roll on a year or two, and she's on the podium at the Scottish National Championships.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to mention which year, and I'm certainly not going to mention which event, where it was, but yeah, that's just so a little bit of encouragement at the time, a little bit of understanding, and that person's a fantastic athlete and a coach, and does really well. So yeah, that kind of warms your heart a wee bit when you saw somebody that was ready to give up that particular type, you know. Yeah.
That's a great story. That's really good. I think I might know who you're on about, but no names and no pack drill in that one. Lizzie, what would be your standout moment or memory as a volunteer, do you reckon, in cycling?
There's been loads, but I think the one that stands out was we got a group of the Bells to do, I think it was the Cross-Border Sportive down in Northumberland. Right. Very hilly route. This was my friend Lisa, who'd never ridden her bike for years and years, started on her 3 miles, and she hummed and hawed about doing the 30 or the 50, and she told me just to go on with the girls, but I was like, no, I'll stay with you. So I mean, the 50 was this huge horrible hill, and she was like, well, I won't. So she did, and we got round it, and the rain, and it was just horrible. The hills were horrible, but we kept cycling, and we crossed the line together, and it was there was a few tears, because I was just so proud, and I thought, you know, if it wasn't for what we started in Hoyk, she would never have done that. So it was such an achievement, and she's great. She still cycles and she loves it. So there's been many stories like that, but that's the one that stands out.
I love it. It's a great story, but it's a real reflection, I suppose, Lizzie, that what you're doing there is you're changing people's lives. Yeah, because, you know, you're maybe, you know, on a bike now, a regular cyclist, maybe, you know, that's helping health and fitness and things like that, quality of life potentially. That changes people's lives. So great story, and great piece of work. Lucia, you knew I was coming to you, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask to twist it to one that because I don't think I have one, okay. But I maybe want to say one that I'm more grateful for volunteers for. Can I twist it that way?
You certainly can. I can't. Yeah, you can be a politician if you can turn things like that. Yeah, but that's a really good twist. I like it.
Because I don't have an inspirational story, but I think one that maybe I'm most grateful to volunteers for. I don't even know if you were there, Nigel, but Youth Tour of Scotland would have been 2017, I think. Just rain.
Might have been.
No, I was let a race in a GABA. That's the kind of weather we're talking. And the amount of volunteers still stood outside, still shouting, cheering on, and parents all around the course with wheels. And I think that was possibly one of the most disgusting. That race made me go track sprint. But yeah, like I think the volunteers there, it showed you just how much they enjoy cycling as much as you appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? So
well, it's a really good example actually. The Youth Tour of Scotland is a cracking event, and won't it be wonderful if we can get that event back up and running again next year, because for emerging riders, young people coming through, I've been able to watch my family come through that and use it and benefit from it and learn so much from it. So it's a really good event. Let's hope we can get that back on again. But Lucia, I really like your example. Now then, I'm conscious of the time here, so we're moving towards, believe it or not, the end point already, because time flies when you're having fun. But I've got what is my killer question for the three of you coming up, okay? Which I did warn you about in advance, so I hope you've been able to kind of give it just a little bit of thought to this one. But it's, what's the one piece of advice you'd give somebody who's considering volunteering in cycling in Scotland? What's the piece of advice you'd want to share with somebody? Because we've heard lots of stories today. We've heard some wonderful examples of the impact that you're having. But if you were standing having a cup of coffee with somebody and they were going, I really think I'd like to get involved in cycling in Scotland, what's that piece of advice you'd give them? Lucia, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I guess from my side, well, I guess if you're thinking about volunteering, is to find a club or find something close to you that's going to give you that option. But equally, I would just say go for it, because I think there's going to be riders like me that's going to, like I said that in the call, like thanks to the volunteers and thanks to people like Martin, like my whole life could have been totally different, and what I've achieved in cycling or where I've got to might not have been achieved if it wasn't for the volunteers that was put in at the base work, but it took me all the way up. So yeah, I think that would be my main piece, is if you enjoy it, then you can really influence someone's life, and not just cycling, but yeah.
Powerful stuff. Yep. Thanks, Lucia. Lizzie.
Just have a think, see how much time you can give up. Don't put pressure on yourself. You're a volunteer at the end of the day, and just have fun. Maybe join with somebody that you know, so you've got that support there, bounce ideas off each other, and just go for it. But definitely don't put pressure on yourself if you can't do that couple of hours that night, or every little helps.
Excellent, brilliant, thank you. Colin, your killer piece of advice.
Oh, just the same as Lucia and Lizzie. If you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it. Pick up the phone, email, text, whatever. I was going to say tap someone's door, but that's a bit, I don't do that so much these days.
It's a bit old-fashioned, that one, Colin. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, just do it. Just get involved. I always find coaching, volunteering, whatever it is a two-way thing. I've yet to come away from an event, a coaching session, anything, and not have learned something about, cycling, the event, the rider, the riders, and myself. You always learn something, and it makes the world a much smaller place. It's fantastic.
Love it. Always learning, and learning about yourself as well is a really powerful one. Well, look, we just got a message there. It was we're delighted that the new chief executive of Scottish Cycling, Nick Rennie, was on this call, but he's had to just disappear. He's saying his thank yous to you as panel members, because for sharing your stories and talking and giving up your time this evening for this, when you're busy enough with other volunteering anyway. Anybody got anything that as panel members that you wanted to talk about tonight that we haven't done? I'd feel terribly guilty if we wrap this one up and actually you got this burning topic that you'd been desperate to share and tell people about, and we haven't done so.
A little request to make, maybe.
Go on, Colin, give us your request, as long as you don't want me to sing.
No. I'm just thinking. cycling seems to have taken off within the UK, globally, in fact. You know, wherever you go, you know, you can't get a bike for love nor money. People are out on bikes. People are going to want to do stuff once we're able to do it a bit more. A few more courses. We should be maximising that opportunity by, you know, getting some practical, sensible courses that helps get some bums on bikes and get out there and publish that. So it's even simple things like, we're always short of commissaires. No one wants to see my face at every single event. It's been like that for a couple of years, getting a lot better, but put some courses on, get the right people involved, young people, older people, whatever it is, just get people involved. But you need to make courses available and help and publish it. And let's get some more people involved. Yeah.
It's a key message, Colin, and I know that there are team members from Scottish Cycling will be listening to this and will absolutely reflect on that. And I think there's absolutely a role for more courses and for the governing body to put those on in partnership with British Cycling if it's a relevant British Cycling course. There is also, and you hinted at it just there, there's also a role for us all. And I'm not just talking about us as panelists, I'm talking about everybody on this call, to encourage people and to give people the confidence to step forward and either register for a course or throw themselves in at the deep end, you know, but support them as well, because that's how we recruit more people in as well. It's that kind of word of mouth. And you know, I'm sure, Lizzie, your experiences of the way you describe people joining and becoming more Breeze champions, it's because of the support they knew was there and the fact that there was encouragement there. Yeah. Whereas, you know, it wouldn't have happened kind of without that. And then they probably went on and got themselves trained up and did the necessary training, which is really important. So it's a good message, Colin. I'm listening to that, and I know there'll be colleagues from Scottish Cycling listening to that on this call. So it's a good point. Well, look, I'm going to start bringing this one to a close. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed the conversation. I hope you've learned something, and I hope it's inspired you, if you're listening, to either want to volunteer more yourself, to maybe get involved if you're not heavily involved as a volunteer right now, or to maybe encourage others to, if you are, to gently twist their arms. It does occasionally require that gentle arm twisting of people to get involved. And I have to say, my experience is if you're looking to get people to volunteer, asking them face to face, it's much harder for people to say no if you're asking them face to face. Now, the last 12 months hasn't made that easy, right? And asking over a Zoom call is maybe not quite as easy as doing it face to face. But if you've got somebody and you're literally maybe at a club session, or you're having a coffee with them, or a conversation, even on a club ride as you're riding alongside, it's much harder for people to say no. If you say, oh, you wouldn't be able to come and help us out, would you? Give us a bit of your time. They'll find it harder to say no if you're looking them in the eye at the time. And that's not bullying. That's just being gently supportive and gently twisting arms, in my view. So I hope you've been inspired. I hope you got some ideas. I want to really thank our panel. It's a huge thank you to you. We talked earlier about how important it is to thank volunteers. It's something I really believe in. So can I thank Lizzie, Lucia, Colin, please, hugely for your time and commitment, not just for what you do tonight, but actually what you do the rest of the time as volunteers. We've heard your stories and they're brilliant. And I do think you will have inspired people. I've got people saying that on some of the chat. I can see that going on. So thank you for what you've done tonight, but thank you for what you do to volunteer the rest of the time. It is Volunteer Week, which starts this week, as we said earlier at the start. So it is a time for everybody to actually thank and recognise the people that volunteer around you. So there's a challenge and an opportunity for everybody on this call to go out, whether it's tonight, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's at the weekend, whether you're at a training session with your junior club or your club mates, or maybe you're on a club ride over the weekend, say thank you to the people that have been involved in organising and volunteering that activity, because they'll remember you if you say thank you. They'll appreciate that. It's going to help them. So yeah, I think that's it. I've got some notes here, but I think I've covered it. It's really about making sure that we all do recognise the people that volunteer around us. So I'm going to thank this panel finally. I'm thanking you as a board member of Scottish Cycling. I'm thanking you as the chair of this panel, but I'm actually just thanking you as a cyclist. Colin does commissaire me, and he knows where I finish in the races, and he gives me appropriate abuse for that. But Colin, thank you for that. Lucia, there's a whole load of young riders at Johnston Jets and people involved in some of the events you're involved in who really owe you a huge debt of thanks. And Lizzie, the number of people that have been involved in your events and your breeze groups ongoing, they all want to thank you. And I just want to thank the three of you on their behalf, I suppose. And with that, I hope everybody's enjoyed this evening. I hope it's been worthwhile. The sun's potentially still out, so you can go and have that sundowner on the lawn right now, just to finish. But thank you all very much indeed. It's been good fun, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Scottish Cycling Talks editions very soon. Bye bye now.